lose weight, the way to get the weight regulated within your body is to get up to the point of exercise that you can actually get the lymph system to move. And this is, curiously, when people talk about the burn in the muscles and that kind of thing. Well, the burn in that initial stage of the muscles exercise, I would say, is it's sort of an okay thing. I don't really go for that. You used to have all of these people say, go for the burn, blah, blah, blah. But from a martial arts perspective, that's not how you exercise. The thing to do is to exercise for heart rate variability. And so you will notice that you go to an Aikido dojo and everybody's sitting seiza, you know, the little Zen style, or maybe cross-legged. And you get some instructions on a particular kind of a move, and you may sit there for 5 minutes as the sensei goes through the details of a particular move. And everybody gets up, and you go through and you do these moves. And it may take you 5 or 6 minutes after you've actually gotten up and started replicating the movement before you get to the point where you're comfortable with it. And then you'll notice that the class as a whole shifts into a slightly higher level of activity for about 5 minutes or so. And then the sensei has everybody sit down. And so basically you're up for around 11 or 12 minutes in movement, and the last couple of minutes have been very intense. The first couple of minutes have been this sort of little gradual warm-up to it. Then you sit down for a bit, and you get another set of instruction, and so on. And it's only when you get to the point where you're black belt at the level of or upper student, senpai, that the level of intensity increases in duration to where you're doing 15 and 20 minutes at a very intense state. And even then you'll stop and your heart rate is allowed to return to normal. Everybody cools off, so it's sweat cool all the way through the class for an hour and a half. And basically what's going on is you're adjusting your heart rate variability to where your heart can withstand a sudden increase of intensity that lasts for a known limited duration. You're not intending to be an endurance fighter where you're going to stand there and fight for 20 minutes, and that's something else too. If you ever see these action movies and you see somebody up there just slugging it out for all this period of time, it's like, I get tired just watching that stuff. It's really a calorie sucker. It's intense to get up there and fight, and usually all the fights I've been involved in have been over very quickly. You look at it, it seems like it lasts forever while you're involved in it, but when you're done, you see that the whole thing probably lasted a minute. It's really a real time distorting experience. Anyway, though, so losing weight, you can get rid of the weight if you can get your lymph system moving, and you can adjust the heart rate variability that your heart can stand. The problem is in losing weight that you find that a lot of people take the approach of, they get the treadmills and, they say, okay, I'm going to commit to doing a mile or 2 miles a day on the treadmills or whatever, 10-mile runs or any of this. And it never works. They always fade out. And that's because no one can do it. Even really fit people have a hard time maintaining the same pace for a long period of time, and it leads to heart damage when they do so. So it's not a good thing. So that's not the way to lose weight. The way to lose weight is to do many, many, many activities of varying intensity that start at a low level and go up to a high intensity in a short period of time, and then allow your heart to relax. And this strengthens the heart. That's the first muscle you should always strengthen in exercise. If you've never exercised before, and you've been scared by all of this shit and coming out of the sky, chemtrails, meteors, government pronouncements, all of this kind of thing. And so you decided you're going to get yourself fit. How do you start? Well, the thing is, your whole body, if it's unfit, relies on a single muscle, and that is the heart muscle. And the heart muscle is really a weird one, because half of the thing really is a muscle, where there's the beat, 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 but the other part of it is really a sinus, where energy drains in from the free energy part of the materium. And so the sinusoidal rhythm, your two heart rate rhythms, the upper and the lower that they always quote to you, 172 over 91 or whatever it is that they're going to say to you. They always give you two numbers and they're separated. Well, one of them is the sinus part of the heart, and the other is the muscle part of the heart. And they have a different rhythm entirely. There you go, chemtrail flu. Anyway, so you need to know this. You can get a lot of information online if you wanted to go and read about it. Some people have written up this kind of an approach that we use in the dojos, as a progressive something, you know, like PACE. It's PACE. There's a couple of doctors out there that have done a good job of encapsulating it, and they tell you all about the reasons why to take this approach to exercise, and how really the good athletes have always done this, and they never really just sort of never concentrated on the flow of it all, but the flow is extremely important. Also important is the circadian rhythm. You'll find that a lot of people fail at exercise because they get up and they try and exercise first thing in the morning, and they're not morning people, and their body's just not geared to it. Their body's got to get into has a different approach and needs to get into the day in a different way. This is why so many people hate the PT, or physical training, in the military, because they always do that at the crack of, you know, dawn. Hell, they're out there racing the sun. They got to get out there and do their jumping jacks and stuff first thing in the morning. Now, I'm a morning person. I've always lived that way. I've always been keyed to reveille and taps, you know, simply because I've lived on too many military bases, and so I've always been up at 4:30. And my dad, for a long time, was drill instructor, you know, basic training kind of a guy. So we live to that schedule, and so it doesn't bother me. It's great. I get up and I exercise. I'll get this done here in a few minutes, and then I'll spend an hour or an hour and a half doing serious exercise while catching up on all the woo-woo online, and so on. But a lot of individuals are different body types, and especially if you're a Kapha or a Vata body type, and you may find that your circadian rhythms, you exercise best at around noon. And so to hell with the early morning stuff. Some people exercise best before they go to bed. I can't do that. It keeps me awake too long. In any event, though, if you get the lymph system moving through contraction of the muscles, now there's two different exercise sets that I've discovered that work really well in doing this. One of them are these little rebounder things, these little mini trampolines. By jumping up and down on those, you get all the muscles involved, and it really pops the lymph. It gives you that incredible feeling that you get from exercise very quickly, and it continues a long time, and that is the lymph system flowing. You can actually tell when you've reached this threshold and the lymph system is really moving, because you have a real good feeling of well-being in your physical body, and then you start noticing the other changes, the weight loss and so on. The same activity that can get the heart rate variability, that is the heart rate coming up and then slowing down, that same wave action, if you will, of how you approach getting your heart up and down, that's really good for the lymph system, because it, unlike trying to run continuously at a known pace, or even a broken pace over a long distance, the up and down action of the wave approach to heart training is better for lymph system, because it doesn't attempt to maintain and keep a continuous pressure on the lymph system itself. Bear in mind, by the way, that the lymph system has a pressure in it, just as you have a blood pressure, you have a lymph system pressure. And in fact, a good Ayurvedic medicine guy, or a Taoist, what they call a TCM, traditional Chinese medicine fellow, will listen for the multiple pulses in your body and the multiple pressures in your body, not just the heart pulse, but also the lymph system pulse and the vital fluid pulse, etc. But the lymph system pulse is easy to learn to take yourself, and you can take it on the other side of your wrist from the little indentation where you would take your regular pulse. Now, if you're overweight, you won't be able to do this unless you can tap the bone of the protrusion just below the thumb and hear that noise and feel the contact of the finger to the bone. You're probably likely going to have too much flesh to be able to easily feel the lymph system unless you get out there and really exercise. Then you'll feel it, and you'll feel it in addition to your heart rate. But the heart rate thing, you can overcome limitations of sedentary lifestyle and being polluted by fizzy drinks and the horrors that are our diet, if you approach it in a little bit sort of an organized fashion and say, well, the very first muscle I have to train is my heart. And so my heart works best by getting it up to where it's a little bit scary in terms of its speed, and then letting it calm down. And getting it up until where it's a little bit scary in terms of speed, and then calm down. And by a little bit scary, I mean you feel it pounding in your chest a little bit and so on. You needn't really stress it out, but the idea is that you stress it out a little bit and then relax it, and stress it out a little bit and relax it. And we do this in an organized fashion in the dojo many times a week. but you can do it daily. One of the things I do is I train daily, so I continuously do that throughout the day. Is I will do my key exercises that will do just that, raise my heartbeat up and then allow it to wave down. So it keeps you fit a lot longer than any of the other mechanisms and methods that I've seen over the years. I used to do long distance bicycle riding and as a training method, and it takes a long time. Bikes are really good. I like them. They're fun. It takes a while now for me to get my heart rate up that way. I'd have to do several good-sized hills and may have to spend 25 or 30 minutes on a bike. But with things like the kettlebells and the rebounders, I can get the heart rate up fairly quickly. I've got a 60-pound kettlebell here, and I can get it up past training effect for me is about 130, more or less 130 beats per minute. And I can get up to training effect in about 5 minutes with the 60-pound kettlebell. In the first minute, I'm up to about 118, so it works out quite well. The kettlebells are great, but they actually help your lymph system as well as the exercising the muscles, and perhaps are the best fat loss mechanism I've ever come across, simply because of the way that they work. But the better overall conditioning is for the lymph system is clearly the rebounders. And then one last piece of gear I have is a thing called an Om gym. It's a piece of cloth, basically, cleverly constructed by these people in Hawaii, I believe, and it's OMGYM. And you hang it, and it allows you to do advanced yoga off the ground, and you do it with no compression of the joints, and that's really great at my age. So I can do really stretchy curves and in the reverse curves in the spine, and put a lot of hanging effect, which is sort of the headstand kind of an effect from yoga, without putting any compression on the elements of the spine. And it's quite cool if you're into advanced yoga, and it allows some really good stretching. And again, it keeps you off the floor where the doggies don't mess with you. One of the problems around here, he's down doing his yoga. Let's go on over and lick parts of him and make him uncomfortable. Anyway, so the Om gym works really well. Again, it also does the lymph system because of the various different kinds of stretching. That's why yoga is really good for you, by the way, because the stretching, the compression of the muscles, acts as a pump on the lymph system in a way that running, for instance, only does it in a couple of muscle sets, but yoga, you can do it all over. And the problem in doing it in a couple of muscle sets, I've found that you can get the big bulgy thighs from specific kinds of exercise. I don't know, maybe sumo squats with dumbbells or something, and you'll actually end up with a pump in that area, but you'll find that other areas of the body, the lymph system is barely affected. It just really is a weird kind of an effect because of all the branches and so on. It's not a cohesive system the way that all blood eventually returns to the heart. The lymph system, it can just sort of hang about in your leg for a while, I guess, without really deciding to circulate around through the whole body. It just is it's an interesting system itself, and the best effect I've found has been to the rebounders. You bounce up, and then you get that effect of the lymph system popping on the way down, and the gravity involved, all the muscles, etc. All the muscles in the body are involved with it. So they're really kind of cool. They're noisy as hell unless you get the very expensive one with the bungee cords. So you have to be careful about that shoink, 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 shoink noise of jumping up and down all the time. Anyway, though, so chemtrails, weight loss is something I didn't really want to get off on, but heart rate variability is the key there, guys. Being an old fart and being fit, I know I've done a lot of this. Also, now today was the day we had the earthquake. 3-day variability either way based on the 27th as an earthquake center. This may relate to the sinkhole, because we're getting a lot of the sinkhole down in LA. We're getting a lot of the references now. We're pretty sure that the forecast for bad salts from the previous written report was indeed focused on the sinkhole and the salt domes down there. And we'd had a longer-term data set about a rupture that would cause dangerous gases that would cause people to flee, that appeared to be focused on the Gulf, and that was coincident with, that is to say, the data set was coincident with the data set from 2003 about the global coastal event.